So today I'm recording my Borrow-a-thon wrap-up. Borrow-a-thon was a readathon from the 7th to the 13th of November, and it was hosted by Riley, and I'm gonna link her channel down below. It was a wonderful idea where you had to read books that you didn't buy, but you borrowed from people, and was to encourage borrowing from libraries, from friends, from family, anywhere, just to increase literacy and to let you know that you can read without having to spend a lot of money on it. Uh, I love the idea because I usually always borrow my books. I rarely buy books, and I'm actually lucky that I live in Toronto and we have a great Toronto public library system over here, which is great. So I'm going to actually take this moment to talk about the public library in Toronto. It's huge. It has 100 branches. It holds a lot of books, a lot of audio CDs, a lot of audiobooks, a lot of ebooks, a lot of physical copies. It has lots of children's programs. My all my children attend children programs there, whether it be for baby time, toddler time. They went to the haunted house that took place in Halloween over there. They had an end of year party there. They have their Christmas party that's going to be coming up over there. My son is also attending a science and technology class over there, which is a lot of fun. Loves going there. They have games over there in the children's section and coloring pages and books for them to borrow, and we often borrow a lot of books from them. I borrow all of my reading list from them, and you can put books on hold and you can borrow them for large amounts of time. You can borrow unlimited amount of books. It's free, that's wonderful, and you're not filling your house, small apartments, small places where you already have a lot of stuff at your place, with more stuff and more stuff and more stuff, and you're supporting a public library, which is great. And I think they have programs for everyone. They even have programs for adults, which I haven't checked into, but I know that they do have a lot of programs for adults where they teach you how to use a computer, how to learn another language, how to assimilate into the Canadian society. There's a lot going on in the Toronto Public Library, and all you need to register is to have an ID. That's it. My husband actually also borrows. He doesn't read a lot, but he does listen to audio CDs, and he borrows those and he enjoys them thoroughly. So there's a lot going on in your library. Be sure to check it out. If you're in Toronto, I'm going to put a link to their website below. If you're in Toronto, you would know about them anyway. But just to support them further, I'm going to do that. I think this was a wonderful idea by Riley to support borrowing, and I want to encourage it further by giving you more information about it. So as for my wrap up, originally in my TBR, I had these 4 books that I was going to read for my borrow-a-thon, and I'm just going to replace one book and put this inside because I decided to replace. They're all from the library, of course, but just I've replaced one book. So let me get started. So let's talk about Scylla first. Scylla is by Toni Morrison, who is, of course, Toni Morrison, the author of Beloved, the author of Song of Solomon. She's famous. She was great. This was in 1973. It's a very short book, somewhere close to 174 pages, which is just really, really short. It's literally black fiction, and I think the line that describes this book the best is from this book. It had no bottom, it had no top, just circles and circles of sorrow. This is what this book was about. So Scylla is essentially about this girl called Scylla and her friend called Eva, and they are both being raised in this small hilly place which has been given to black folks, and they're growing up and they both lead very different lives. They're very good friends, but they both lead very different lives and they choose very different futures for themselves. And it is due to the circumstances of uh, black folks in America at that time that they're sort of pushed into those avenues. However, the book started off very well, the relationship was great, and I loved Toni Morrison. But somewhere along the way, I started disliking Scylla so much that I couldn't get through to the book. Like by the end of it, I wanted to skip passages, I wanted to skip the book, and it was a very short book, and that should not be happening. Uh, I could not get in terms with how wild and fiery she was trying to make Scylla out to be. So I was not completely in love with it. So I just rated it a 2 out of 5, which is surprising. Something that's out of Oprah Book Club, that's Toni Morrison. It's still a classic, but just not my character. The next book that I'm going to talk to you about is Burnt Shadows. Now, Burnt Shadows is by Kamila Shamsi. Kamila Shamsi is a Pakistani writer. I think I mentioned this previously as well. This book of hers is amazing because it's 370 pages, and in 370 pages you see so much happening. So she starts from, this book is about Hiroko Tanaka, who was present when Hiroshima and Nagasaki took place, and she was in Japan at that time, and she lost her fiance and most of her and everyone in her family. And in search of family, in search of love, in search of friendship, she goes to India where her fiance's family lives, their British family, and she moves there. And when she does, then India-Pakistan partition is taking place. So she witnesses that. She falls in love with this Muslim man, and they are forced to leave their place in Delhi and move to Pakistan. And when she moves to Pakistan, she faces nuclear wars and the tension that's growing between India and Pakistan. And then the Afghan and Russian American dispute. She witnesses all of that. And and then finally she moves to America, New York, and she witnesses 9/11. So as you can see, a whole lot of world events. And it sounds very far-fetched for one single person to go through all of this, but I think the power of Kamila Shamsi's writing is that it doesn't seem far-fetched. It just really makes you question, what are we doing to this world? What are we trying to teach people? Wars are not good, fighting is not good, and the amount of pain that it causes just does not make sense. And we're in this really crazy circle when we keep doing this again and again and again. And in the end, there is also the mention of Guantanamo Bay. And whatever I'm saying is not considered a spoiler because she talks about it in the synopsis here. So it's more about the journey, how it happens, and what she learns from it, more than anything anything else. I think it was a very interesting account, and I rated it a 4 out of 5. Okay, so the next book on my list is gonna be When in French, and I'm so happy I picked this up because it's such a light, fun read. This is a non-fiction, this is a biography, and it was only 237 pages. It was published in 2016, and it's so funny without it being funny. She is not trying to be funny, she's just retelling her account of how she, being an American, had fallen in love with a French guy, and they had moved to Switzerland, and no one understood her language, and she had to learn French. And it's just hilarious. It's hilarious because I was sitting in subways, I was sitting everywhere, and I was laughing, and I loved it. I've done a full review on this, so I'm not going to talk a lot about it, except that I rated it a 3.5 out of 5 only because I'm not into nonfiction. But it was very funny, and there's a lot of anecdotes about history and language in it, which are also fun to read and to get a grasp on. That's that. The last book that I read was actually The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater. Now, The Raven King is actually book four of the Raven cycle. The first book was The Raven Boys, the second book was The Dream Thieves, the third book was Blue Lily Lou, and the fourth book is The Raven King. I'm not going to do a full review on this. Just a few mentions because I think this book has been discussed a lot on book two. Uh, Previously, all the books in the Raven cycle, I had rated them a 3, 3.5, not more than that. But this book is a clear 4. I think it was such a wonderful ending. I think it was such a good book. And I love the way, I think Maggie Stiefvater has such a talent for relationships, for friendships, for teenagers. She really gets them. All the characters from Gansey, Blue, Noah, Henry, uh, Ronan, Adam, they're all wonderful. They're all so unique. They're so uncliched. They're so different. They're so intelligent. There's so much power and strength and optimism and doubt, and they're so clearly exhibited in her writing. The Leeline part, the waking up of Glendower King and all that is a little bit confusing, but and if you get past the first book, you would be able to hang on to it, and even if you don't fully grasp it, you will still be able to enjoy the books, which is great. It's more about the friendships, it's more about the relationships than anything else. Um, Even Blue's mother and the family that she lives with at 300 Foxway, even Gansey's relationship with his sister Helen and his family, everything is so wonderful about this book. The only thing that I did not find a purpose for was that in every book there was a physical villain, whether it was uh, it- every book had a physical villain. Some came in the form of teachers, some came in the form of hitmen, and all of that. I didn't get the purpose behind them. I thought they were really kind of ridiculous, and I wanted to skip parts over them. But other than that, this book is so much fun. It's such a gem, and I'm not into YA paranormal books. And I picked it up on the recommendation of Kayla from Books and Lala. But I'm glad I finished the series. It was so much fun and I've left a lot of series in the middle, but this one yeah, hands down, really good. And I think everyone should give it a try. I rated it a 4 out of 5, and this concludes my Borrow-a-thon wrap up. This was a lot of fun. Thank you, Riley, for hosting this, and I had a lot of fun. I have to go and return these books now because they're from the library. So, thank you.